All right, so when you're looking at the outside of the eye, then this is the cornea. And in our eye, it would be really transparent. But when you preserve things, you cause protein molecules to change their shape. So when the molecule changes its shape, it's no longer transparent. And that's why it clouds out. That's why you actually get cataracts, because the protein molecules change their shape and become cloudy. And so once you see the cornea of the eye, then right around it would be the sclera that would be covered with conjunctiva. And then the back of the eye is all the sclera. And then we have adipose tissue that protects the eye from the socket, and then the different muscles that are kind of hard to do if you can't orient the eye. So when you cut the eye and you first pull things out, the first thing you'll notice is that a lot of liquid came out. So this liquid was what was in the anterior chamber of the eye. So this is aqueous humor that would build up and cause glaucoma. In the back of the eye, what will come out is something that's real viscous, that looks like almost like semi-set-up jello or like egg white, and that's the vitreous body of the eye. And the role of the vitreous body is to help maintain the posterior shape of the posterior cavity of the eye. Then usually when you do this, what comes out with the vitreous body is the lens. And again, in our eye, the lens would be transparent, but this lens has got a bad set of cataracts, again, because of the preservative that was used to preserve the eye. Denatures the proteins. Kind of like an egg white. Before it's cooked, it's transparent. When you cook it and heat it, you change the shape of the protein, it turns white. Yeah, because you denature the protein. And so now what we have is our little fried egg there with the egg white and the lens. So when we're looking at the back of the eye, you'll notice that in the back of the eye there's this kind of cream-colored layer, and that is actually the innermost layer of the eye, the retina of the eye. And so if you take a probe and try to slightly lift that, now what I'm doing is I'm detaching the retina, which is what would happen if you got punched really hard, or in sometimes a car accident where you get a lot of pressure on the eye, it detaches the retina. So I'm just pulling the retina away from the choroid coat right now of the eye so we can actually see it. And if you do this, there'll be a point where the retina will stay attached and doesn't want to come loose. So as I'm doing this, you'll see that the retina wants to stay attached right here, and it doesn't want to come loose right there. So this was the optic disc in the eye, which is where we have a blind spot. That's where the optic nerve arises. So once you find that, then you should be able to find the optic nerve on the back of the eye once you find that. So this is all the retina being pulled loose. So now I've detached the entire retina of the eye, and it's being held right there at the optic disc. So the next layer out from the retina of the eye would be the choroid coat. So this black layer is the choroid coat. Remember, it's really heavily pigmented so that it absorbs light. And then this beautiful turquoise pattern that we're seeing in there is that tympanum lucidum, which is why sheep have green eye shine at night in lights, is this tympanum lucidum. Our eye lacks this. So our eye has a lot of blood vessels in the back so that it looks red when you have a flash camera. So now if I pull the choroid coat away, then you'll notice that the choroid coat is, when I pull that away, then we're seeing the white, and that's the sclera of the eye. So now we're seeing our three layers, the fibrous tunic, the sclera, the vascular tunic, the choroid coat, and the nervous tunic, the retina of the eye. Now when I look on this side, the other part of the eye here, then you can actually look through it and see the pupil of the eye now. So when you look in this part of the eye, what we're seeing is the back of the iris. Notice it's black. The choroid coat, notice it's black. And then the cornea is black. So that's why they're all part of the vascular tunic, because they're all heavily pigmented with melanin to prevent reflective light from occurring. So it's going to be a little hard because this one's kind of was twisted when it got preserved. But I'll try to reflex it here a little bit so you can see it. So there's actually a ridge we can see right along here, which is the ciliary process. What we've done is remove the cornea of the eye. Now you can see the iris of the eye, which is brown in the sheep, have brown eyes typically. And you can actually now see the pupil of the eye, and the lens is still in place, so that when light passes through it, the first thing it hits is the lens, which is right what we're seeing on the back of that. So the ciliary process would be this ridge that we're seeing right here, which produces the aqueous humor, and it provides the suspensory ligaments that keep the lens in place. So when you do pull the lens out, this black frayed stuff here is actually the suspensory ligaments that were keeping the lens in place. So what we're seeing here now is the ciliary body. All of this is a ciliary body, with the iris being the front part, the ciliary process, and then if you were to take and look closely at this, you can see that there's little fiber ridges in here, which would be the ciliary muscle, radiating away from the pupil itself.